Happy Monday, everyone. This is Martha with Nature Niche, and I'm coming to you on location from Chippewa Nature Center. And I'm here with Matthew Lindauer. He is the Central Michigan CISMA Coordinator, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what is a CISMA.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, the first thing is probably just explaining what Central Michigan CISMA means. Central Michigan, just the region, not affiliated with the university. But the CISMA is CISMA, Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. So to blow that out a little bit, as the state, looking at the state as a whole, there's 22 of them, 22 different service areas for CISMAs throughout the state. Ours in particular covers Clare, Gladwin, Gratiot, Isabella, and Midland counties. So a fair bit of land to deal with, but that's a relatively typical size for a lot of these CISMAs. So if you're in those counties and you have invasive species questions or concerns, I would be the person to go to for that. However, if you're not within those 5 counties and you want to learn a little bit more, who's in your CISMA, what they can do for you, if you just look up michigan.gov and look up CISMA, the first response that Google or whatever search engine you're using gives you is probably going to be the right one there. But if that's too much, reach right out to me. I can point you in the right direction. So
is it a beyond state of Michigan thing as well?
Yeah,
for some of my folks who watch from out of state.
Great point. There are some in Wisconsin. Is some of the closest ones I can think of. I would like to think there are some in other states, but I know Michigan has one of the more robust setups right now. New York has a really big one too.
Yeah, so we'll try to throw some website resources on the post about that.
Definitely. But it seems like something that's growing a little bit more across the country, which is nice. And I should clarify, some of them have different names. They're not all CISMAs. Some are invasive species networks, cooperative weed management areas.
I've heard that term.
They all show up on the same map despite whatever they're listed as. But if you find that website, michigan.gov, they'll all be on there with all their different names. So
excellent.
Some of the things that we do is we're a resource for landowners of all sorts. The biggest thing that we can do is disseminate information and let people know what they're looking at in terms of invasives, how they can go about treating it. We have some tools to help you treat this stuff.
That's wonderful.
Folks can rent those out. Which is nice, and we share them with our partners as well when they have projects or volunteer groups coming out, which is nice. So this here is a little daubing wand, and I guess I should address the use of herbicides in treating invasive species, because I know that people raise an eyebrow a little bit to that.
That happens.
And it's important to address, I think, but it is crucial with these invasive species to really, I guess, kill them off, because if they have their root structures left, they'll come back.
They're good at sprouting back.
So it's not always fun to bust out the sprays and the daubs and all of that, but you have to do it or you're never going to get rid of the problem.
They're very effective if used appropriately.
Yes, exactly. And that's the biggest thing. Use them appropriately. There's all sorts of information on the labels and stuff, but that's, you could do a whole nother talk just on understanding the labels on herbicides. But anyway, important to address. So this, if you were to cut, we are surrounded in a field of what used to be full of common buckthorn for the most part. So that's kind of the mess we got going on now, although it looks a lot better now than it did a handful of months ago, and it'll look even better next year.
Nice.
And a little bit better every year after that. But for buckthorn, if you don't have a forestry mower like we did here to really chew this stuff up, you know, you cut down a larger, like a buckthorn or an autumn olive, and then that's when you have to treat it with the herbicide. That's what this would be used for. You daub it on the cut portion of the stump, and that will absorb those herbicides into the roots. So this holds
the herbicide?
Yeah, this holds the herbicide here, and this is just a sponge with a net on it. The net just keeps it, you know, some form and gives it some protection, and this little valve turns it on and off, but it stays pretty contained, and it's not going to drip until you set it down. And
yeah, that looks like a real back saver when you're doing cut stump treatment.
Yeah, beats a paintbrush or something. Yeah, definitely. And then maybe a little bit more familiar is just a backpack sprayer here. Another thing that we rent out. We don't rent out any of the chemicals, the herbicides, again, just for a number of reasons.
Landowners have to secure their own. Okay.
Yep. that would be the thing. But the important thing with treatment is it's never really done. It gets easier every year, but you're never really done because these invasive species show up for a number of different reasons and in a number of different ways. So you have to keep an eye on it.
And you could help a landowner figure out what's the appropriate herbicide to use for a target species. Give advice on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great point. So that's one of the things that we do along with general education and identification. We can let people know how they should be treating certain things so that it's being done most effectively. Because again, a lot of this stuff, if you're just cutting it down, you'll be cutting it down every year, pretty much indefinitely. So we can help point people in the right direction on that. There are some species of really high importance that we would call them early detection rapid response species, and we try and put out some press on those through social media or press releases and things like that. And if something showed up like that on somebody's property, we would show up and help them to treat that and get rid of that. But unfortunately for your kind of run-of-the-mill buckthorns, autumn olives, garlic mustards,
the invasives that have been around a while.
Yeah. If we helped out every landowner with those, that would be all that we'd be doing all the time. So unfortunately, there is a line on what we can actively show up and help treat.
But you can give advice. You have tools that folks can use.
Absolutely.
They can build off of your experience working on those species.
Yeah, exactly. And we do talks. In fact, we're lucky enough to be doing one with
that's great.
with you coming up.
Wednesday, August 14th.
August 14th.
Matthew's going to talk about invasive species management. We'll do a class at Nature Niche. So we'll have more information online about that soon too.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can just scratch the surface of it, especially in a video like this.
Yeah.
You're just starting to talk about it. So it's great to kind of expand that out a little bit more.
Is there, I guess, anything else you want to say about how folks can get involved with their local CISMA and support it?
Yeah, the biggest thing that people can do to support the CISMA and certainly to support me in general, know your invasive species. So there's a number of ways you can get acquainted with that, but the CISMA is another resource that can help to do that. Report them. When you see them, report them. There's an app called the MISIN app, MISIN, Midwest Invasive Species Information Network. And you can report things through that. Take pictures. Taking pictures is really important because, again, it takes a while to get used to identifying things properly. So that picture really helps to do that. So reporting things is a big one. And planting native species, that's a big one. Japanese barberry, I'll always take a moment to tell people not to plant that one. It's super popular.
It's still in the mainstream trade.
Yeah, easy to grow, but this year in particular, we've seen that really taking off in some areas where it's not supposed to be. So barberry's a really big one. Don't plant that. So,
as an example of your homeowner actions, be mindful of what you're planting.
I think those are the two biggest. So knowing and reporting and planting native.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
All right.